Good morning. Climate Summit ends. Today marks the final day of the 26th United Nations Climate Conference. Who attended this year's conference and what is included in the draft of a plan for how to address climate change?
And measles threat, more kids are being vaccinated against COVID-19, but now health experts are concerned about children being exposed to measles. More on the reason they are concerned.
Strong wind gusts are bringing us weather like chills. Our weather team times out when that wind will go away. Get the coffee ready and open up those eyes. You're waking up with Cardinal weather. Good Friday morning.
From Ball State Unified Media, you're waking up with Cardinal weather, live from the Ball State Weather Center.
Good Friday morning to you. You're waking up with Cardinal weather. I'm Logan Salzbrenner.
And I'm Annie Keister. And Logan, it feels good to be back. And by back, I specifically mean inside, in studio, at the desk where it's nice and warm. Chilly walk this morning. I don't even think it was 40 degrees.
Yeah, it was definitely cold. And when we're starting to see those cold winter temperatures creep in, that means it's the perfect time to talk about how to stay safe during winter weather.
This week is Winter Weather Preparedness Week in the state of Indiana. Throughout the show, we'll be sharing information about winter weather and tips on how to stay safe this season. But right now, Alex Almanza explains how you can prepare your car for winter weather.
Winter is approaching, and with the expected snowfall this weekend, now is the most important time to make sure your car is winterized for the chilly season. That includes making sure your vehicle is equipped with winter or all-season tires, and maybe even a routine inspection of the traction control. But there are things you should keep inside your car in case of emergency. So what should you keep in your car year-round? Well, for starters, let's start off with jumper cables. Jumper cables are very important for jumping your vehicle in case your car runs dead. You want to keep extra fluids, some non-perishable items such as water or food, and of course, tools. But some experts say that when it comes to winterizing your vehicle, you should keep a little more on hand. According to this graphic from Kane and Silverman Personal Injury Lawyers, there are 16 essential tools you should consider keeping in the cabin of your vehicle. Some of those including at least half a tank of gas, reflectors, or road flares in case you have to stop on the side of the road, and an ice scraper. And for those with four-wheel drive vehicles, you may think your car is more capable of driving in the snow and ice, but sometimes that may not be the case. Four-wheel drive is a great feature for driving through thick snow. However, no matter what tires or car feature you have, ice will always cause you to slip and slide if not careful. And of course, there is also the urge to leave your car running in the morning to warm it up before you head out to work or school. Something experts say is a common mistake that can give car thieves a hassle-free way to take off with your ride. For Cardinal Weather, I'm Alex Almanza.
Some awesome tips from Alex this morning. And for more, you can head over to nhtsa.gov. And Logan, also always good to have that information on hand, but I'm hoping we can hold off on that for just a little bit longer.
Yeah, me too. It has been super cold and windy, but Rachel, is it gonna get worse?
Yeah, temperatures are unfortunately going to get colder this weekend. Looking here at our radar, we're not seeing much. We see some passing showers to the north, moving to the east, but for now, most of our viewing area will remain dry for the rest of the day. And looking at how cold our temperatures have gotten today, we do see a 14-degree difference here in Indianapolis from yesterday morning, 16-degree difference here in Muncie. So overall, throughout the state, we are seeing a large difference in temperatures from yesterday, and that will continue throughout the weekend. I'll talk more about that in my full forecast. Looking for more in my full forecast, we're going to see breezy conditions as well as colder temperatures for the weekend, and then we're also going to see our next couple of weather systems for tonight and this weekend. I'll talk more about that in my full forecast.
Thank you, Rachel. And today is the final day of this year's United Nations Climate Change Conference. Many world leaders attended the two-week COP26 conference in Glasgow.
The goal of the conference is to discuss issues related to climate, like climate finances, energy sources, and carbon markets. World leaders often create agreements at these meetings, such as the historic Paris Agreement created at COP21 that worked to limit global greenhouse gas emissions. Many American public figures and politicians attended this year's conference. That's including Joe Biden, former President Barack Obama, and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. This week, Pelosi spoke at the conference. She said she is confident the climate goals set by the Biden administration will be met.
America is back. Our president was here. He had achieved, there were many successes that were achieved in collaboration, not dictation or condescension, but in collaboration with other countries, many of whom were ahead of us because we had, of course, the dark period of 4 years preceding the President Biden's administration coming into office. So we have great confidence, we have great absolute hope and optimism that the goals will be met.
At the conference, Pelosi announced that Democrats plan to pass Biden's Build Back Better bill next week. The $2 trillion infrastructure bill includes several climate issues like electric vehicles, flood mitigation, and climate resilience. And from this year's COP summit, world leaders have drafted a climate agreement.
Right now, the draft builds on goals to limit global warming from the Paris Agreement signed in 2015. The draft calls for countries to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. It also calls for governments to phase out coal and fossil fuel at a faster rate. The draft has not been finalized.
Countries like Saudi Arabia feel provisions about energy sources are too strict. On the other hand, climate activists feel like the draft is too weak because it doesn't set any deadlines for countries to take action. Yesterday, the chief of the UN said the aim to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees is, quote, on life support.
And despite pledges from the COP26 agreement, the world is on track to warm 2.4 degrees. That's according to a new analysis from Watchdog Climate Action Tracker. The creator of Climate Tracker said nations across the globe are taking action, but that it isn't enough.
No, with the current pledges and all the things that countries propose, we see a roughly stabilization of greenhouse gas emissions until 2030. So they're not going up anymore, which is good because in the past they have always been going up by 1 to 2% per year. I think with current action they're flatlining until 2030, which is okay, but not good enough.
Scientists say limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees will help the planet avoid the worst consequences of climate change.
And sticking to the topic of climate this morning, an environmental watchdog group took a look at who attended this year's climate change conference. The biggest group of attendees, though, people representing fossil fuel companies. According to a report by Global Witness, over 500 lobbyists represented coal, oil, and gas companies in Glasgow. Over 100 energy companies were represented. The list includes people directly affiliated with the corporations and those attending on behalf of fossil fuel industries.
Another large group showed up for part of the COP26 conference, climate protesters. Organizers in Glasgow say that 250,000 people attended a climate protest in Glasgow. The protests were part of a global day of action to demand climate justice. Climate activist Greta Thunberg addressed the protesters last Saturday. She described the climate summit as a failure. Climate activists have criticized the COP26 government. They say the plan does not do what is needed to hold nations accountable for their emissions. And just ahead, millions of COVID-19 tests are being recalled. Why the tests have the FDA concerned?
Yeah, all that and more after your weather now. Welcome back. The time is 8:10 this morning. You're taking a live look at the beautiful Schaefer Tower. The picture's a little misleading. I know it's a little bit colder than that. Moving on to our COVID headlines this morning, breaking news. Johnson & Johnson is breaking into two separate companies. The organization is planning to separate its retail products from business and prescription drugs and medical devices. Both companies will still be publicly traded. The pharmaceutical business will keep the name Johnson & Johnson. Corporate leadership and the new name of the consumer division have not yet been announced. Last month, vaccines were approved for kids ages 5 to 11, and vaccination efforts have been ramping up.
But kids' COVID cases are also on the rise, and another disease is threatening to make a comeback among kids. Britt Conway explains what trend experts are looking out for.
All done with his first COVID-19 vaccine. And he's not the only one. The White House estimates nearly 1 million kids 5 to 11 have gotten their first dose. With about 700,000 pharmacy appointments on the books, 114 children's hospitals and doctors' offices are offering vaccinations too. And there are mobile clinics in some places, along with school clinics. But getting more kids vaccinated is often a battle against hesitancy and sometimes equity. A recent poll shows parents with lower incomes are less likely to get their kids in that 5 to 11 age group vaccinated, with concerns about getting time off work or finding a way to get to a vaccination site, along with educational disparities. Experts say more education generally comes with more acceptance of science. COVID-19 vaccines aren't the only vaccine doctors are worried about, though. The CDC says 22 million babies worldwide missed their vaccinations last year during the pandemic, worsening the global threat of measles. All the while, kids' cases of COVID are on the rise again. The American Academy of Pediatrics says this past week there was a more than 6% increase in cases from the week before, and winter is coming.
This is at its heart a winter virus, and I think that as we head into winter, we will likely see a bump in cases. That's the most likely scenario.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
More than 2 million at-home COVID-19 tests are being recalled after 35 reports of false positive tests. They're from the brand Illume. The FDA says it is a Class 1 recall. That's the most urgent type. They say the reliability of negative test results have not been affected, but they are concerned a false positive could delay treatment of the actual cause of a person's illness. The Biden administration awarded nearly $232 million to Illume to produce its at-home tests in February.
HHS is investing $650 million from the American Rescue Plan to provide manufacturers of point-of-care diagnostic tests advanced purchase commitments so that these manufacturers can scale up their production.
The Biden administration is investing in rapid COVID-19 testing. The Department of Health and Human Services is spending $650 million to ramp up production. The tests will be used at hospitals, urgent care centers, pharmacies, and other community health care settings. This comes after the administration spent billions to increase the availability of at-home COVID-19 tests. The Biden administration is also putting nearly $800 million toward building vaccine confidence in communities of color, rural areas, and low-income populations.
Let's move back to Winter Weather Preparedness Week this morning. We've got yet another tip for you. If you're planning to travel during winter weather, there are a few things you can do to stay safe. You can share your travel plan with someone. Tell them where you're going, what route you're taking, and when you should get there.
And if there's ice and snow, keep it slow. Leave plenty of extra space between cars to make sure you're driving safely.
And if you get stuck in your car during a snowstorm, stay put. You're much more likely to be found with your vehicle. Run the motor just enough to keep the car warm. And like I said earlier this morning, it's great to know all this, but you know, Ryan, I'm not so sure that I'm totally ready for this yet. I don't know about you, Logan.
Yeah, I'm definitely not ready. Really excited that I did not see any ice this morning. I probably would have slipped and fallen. Ryan, are we gonna see any ice soon?
Well, first of all, I'm wearing the wrong color because you guys got the memo, not only for, well, keeping it in theme with your report that you just tossed to me, but, well, we're definitely looking at some pretty decent winter weather over this weekend. So let's walk on over to the weather wall and see how exactly things look at this point.
For our nation, let's take a look at that and see that the whole nation pretty much is wearing plenty of blue. Indeed, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us, and I'm glad to grab a coffee and open up those eyes with you. So how are we doing out there? Currently 34 in Minneapolis, 28 in Billings, 22 in Denver, and we have some of that kind of air, Annie and Logan, to look forward to as overnight lows over the weekend. So definitely plenty of chill, number one, and number two, we're definitely talking
maybe a little bit of that wintry precipitation. Yes, that S word, S-N-O-W. I'll tease that now for my forecast later on, but see that we can spot. Let's play another edition of Spot the Front. It just cleared Atlanta, and they're only at 50 degrees. 64 in New York, and then 62 in Los Angeles. Moving along, we do have, here's that S-N-O-W word, right over Minneapolis, and you've got some heavier banding right in here in northwestern North Dakota, and that's actually coming with the other wintry word, even stronger, B word, blizzard. We have some blizzard warnings to talk about, and that's all related with what's going on with the jet stream here. We've got a big old trough. The jet stream is a river of air that separates the cold air and the warm, and it's also where storms form, and if they do form, it helps direct their path. And you can see right here, we've got a pretty decent low pressure system aloft that's guiding what's going on at the surface, that little swirl of snow that you just saw. So where are we going with that? Well, that cooler air is going to continue to advance into our Midwestern and towards our eastern states, and that you've got that ridge also, so maybe a little bit to tease into the next week. These right here is the advance of winter in the form of freeze conditions. The freeze watches are many from Atlanta to Oklahoma City. We've got some of those, there's that blizzard warning right there that I was talking about, some winter weather advisories, wind advisories too. There's a pressure gradient, the change in pressure between that ridge of high pressure over here and that big low over there. And that's a big deal. And our next system, we might have to watch that here in the Midwest. You've got some flash flood watches and warnings in the Northwest to talk about, as well as a few wind products in effect along the coast because of that. So all that said, what are we going to do with highs? Definitely going to continue to cool as we work our way into the weekend. You can see those 30s and 40s making themselves much more known across the United States in our eastern section. And as you saw, that storm's moving east, we may actually have some of those flakes falling right here in Indiana.
You dropped a few bad words for me this morning, Ryan. The S word, S-N-O-W. My answer's N-O. We haven't even hit Thanksgiving yet. I'm not ready.
Pump the brakes.
Pump the brakes on the
that.
S-N-O-W. All right, Ryan. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
In just a moment, we'll take a look at that weekend cool down once again.
That's after a message from Mitz.
Riding the bus is an easy thing to do. Last year, we carried 60,000 riders from the Ball State area. 50,000 of those were students. Anywhere you want to go, Mitz will take you there.
Welcome back. It's 8:19 on your Friday morning. Still a sunshiny day. We're going to go ahead and bring it back in here. Some more headlines.
4 astronauts head to space this week on a SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule. The mission, dubbed Crew 3, is sending the astronauts to spend 6 months aboard the International Space Station. While there, they will perform research and help maintain the laboratory. This is the most recent astronaut launch, led by NASA and SpaceX. NASA retired its space shuttle program in 2011. That means SpaceX is the only option the U.S. has to make trips to the ISS.
Let's take a look at some photos from NASA's newest high-tech satellite. These images were taken by Landsat 9. It launched in September to help track the impacts of climate change. It can detect thermal radiation in 2 wavelengths to give researchers accurate readings on global surface temperatures and to provide insight into plant health, irrigation use, water quality, and glacial retreat over time.
And we've got another tip for you. If you're planning on going outside in this winter weather, it's important to be prepared. Make sure you're monitoring weather forecasts. The International Weather Service will always let you know about a storm days before it arrives.
You should always make sure to dress warmly. Wear layers, gloves, and a hat and a scarf like we did this morning. And make sure you're staying dry to prevent from hypothermia.
And you can also create an emergency kit to keep in your car. Doing all these things can help you be winter ready. I definitely threw on a lot of layers today. Maybe need even one more. It was super chilly.
And what's scaring me the most, Logan, is it's November. We're just kicking in this long haul, Rachel. We got a long way to go.
Yeah, this weekend's gonna be colder and I'm not really looking forward to it, but it is the start of winter, unfortunately. And looking here, we can see that our current temperatures are really reflecting what we're going to be seeing this weekend. We're going to see our current wind chill temperatures at 35 degrees. So it feels like 35 degrees, but we're around 41 degrees here in Muncie. 27 degrees it feels like in Newcastle. Colder in Richmond at 25 degrees. Looking here at our radar, we're not seeing much besides those rain showers up to our north that are going to be moving to the east. As we move throughout our day, it's going to be dry for us. Clouds will increase later on in the day. We can see those clouds, a little bit of those clouds moving into the area right now. We see this line of showers that's moved to the east that we saw yesterday evening that had that cold front, and we are now experiencing those cooler temperatures. Looking at today, we're going to see a high of 51 degrees. We do have a chance of our rain/snow mix tonight. That will all depend on how cold we get tonight, depending on if we see that kind of precipitation. We will see winds out of the southwest at 15 to 20 miles per hour, possible gusts up to 25 to 30 miles per hour. And looking here, we can see that the next 12 hours we will reach a high of 51 degrees, dropping down to 43 degrees by 7 p.m. Just depending on how cold we get, it will depend on the temperature to see if we see snow or rain for tonight. And looking here at our low, we will see a low of 34 degrees, mostly cloudy skies. Rain/snow mix is possible, just depending on how low we get tonight. Looking here at our wind gusts, we will see breezy conditions as we move throughout the day today. Possible gusts of 33 miles per hour here in Muncie, 36 miles per hour in Winchester, and those wind gusts will calm down by the time we reach tomorrow, and those winds will be calm. We'll see gusts up to 11 miles per hour in the normal calm range for our wind gusts. And looking here at our precision cast, tracking out that rain/snow mix, by tonight we might see some of those rain showers in our area. We're going to see scattered rain for the rest of the evening, and as we move throughout our week, we will see this jet stream dip below with that cold Canadian air. We're going to see those cooler temperatures reflected here, and we will see those warmer temperatures actually return next week, again dipping kind of back up into that jet stream. We can see that in our mid 7-day forecast. We're going to see that rain/snow mix. By the weekend, we will see another chance for that rain/snow mix on Sunday. But throughout the week, we're kind of going to be on a temperature roller coaster. I'm kind of excited to get my sweater out, though, for this weekend, kind of with those cold temperatures.
Yeah, I am too, especially if it comes with the holidays. And in just a moment, we're going to show you one way that Starbucks is finding a new way to celebrate it.
If there's any positive side to it, Logan, it's just that. We're looking forward to it. That's after your weather now.
From the heart of Ball State to the heart of your community, NewsLink Indiana brings you local and state news you care about. We pride ourselves with giving you the most reliable news coverage, stories that affect you, linking you to the community each night on air and online. NewsLink Indiana, bringing news to the heart of your community.
Welcome back. The current time is 8:25. Federal sentencing, heated trial, and victims speaking out.
Let's take a look at this week's News Minute. Former Muncie Mayor Dennis Tyler was sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in prison by a federal judge. That will be followed by 3 years of supervised release. This comes after Tyler admitted accepting $5,000 to steer a government contract. This week, Tyler formally pleaded guilty in court. He will have to forfeit the $5,000 bribe and pay $15,000 in restitution.
For me, not for you. My understanding of
You should have come and asked.
After a heated week at trial, the Kyle Rittenhouse case is moving.
The last thing she said to me was, "Are you okay?"
Family members of victims spoke out yesterday about those killed during the crush of the concert goers at Astroworld. The festival happened in Houston last Friday. Wednesday, a 9th person died from her injuries during rapper Travis Scott's Astroworld Festival performance. At least one other person is still in critical condition with injuries from the surging crowd.
And we're back with another winter weather preparedness tip. To stay safe in the winter, it can help to have an emergency kit. The National Weather Service recommends keeping one in your house and another in your car.
Emergency kits should include things like water, non-perishable food, a flashlight, and a battery-powered radio. Make sure you have radio access to a weather station where you can get updates on storm information.
And in your emergency kit, it can also help to keep a change of clothes, a blanket, a shovel, and a portable charger. And with this cold weather coming in, I'm excited to see how the science is looking.
We've been talking about it all morning here in Indiana. We're getting ready to start seeing some winter weather. We even have our first chance of snow today, Logan.
But how does that snow form, and what factors make snowstorms stronger? Eric Segbor is here this morning breaking down the science of lake effect snow.
Thank you. I'm here to teach you about how lake effect snow forms. So the first step in the process is we have a cold front that moves through. And usually a cold front, you have colder air that's moving in. And as the cold air moves in, that brings in that temperature in 30s, 40s. Around this time of year, it's around 40s. But the lake is much different. As the colder air that moves in will bring in some changes with the lake. Starting step number 2, as warm air begins to rise in conjunction with that cold air moving in. And usually with the cold air moving in, with that cold air moving in, and the warm air moving up, we'll see this begin to form some instability. And those that now happen in the form of clouds begin to build. And as those clouds begin to build, the updraft continues. And eventually, this updraft will eventually turn all this into will begin to form some pretty intense clouds. And eventually, all this will come down as a downdraft, and this will be happening in the form of snow. And as the snow comes down, it starts as light snow. As this whole thing is moving down to our southeast, it could be coming down. It can impact like communities around the lake. And by step number 5, this is when it gets serious with the system. As the system begins to become some heavier snow, as the downdraft gets stronger. And by this point, this is when we do have that heavy, this whole thing becomes lake effect snow. And if you're in like Erie or New York or areas like around the lakes in northern New York, you'll see this whole thing come down the lake as heavy snow. And sometimes with snow you can get thunder. The cool fact of this lake effect, so you can get thunder snow, and that thunder snow is something that's rare, but once you get it, it's something that's pretty cool. And this is how lake effect snow forms.
All right, Eric, thank you so much. And if you're looking for a heartwarming story this morning, this is it. A 105-year-old Louisiana woman now holds a world record in the 100-meter dash.
Retired teacher Julia Hawkins took the top spot for the race at the Senior Louisiana Games. That makes her the first female track and field athlete and the first American to set a track and field world record. Her win also established an age 105 and older category. Hawkins said, quote, "I want to keep running as long as I can. My message to others is that you have to stay active if you want to be healthy and happy as you age."
And for those with a little extra screen time, if you've ever been on Instagram and looked up only to realize you wasted hours scrolling, You're not alone. The social media site is testing a new feature meant to help people take control of their time. It's of course called Take a Break. Users can opt in to use the feature. You can choose how long you can browse the app before an alarm rings. The feature is still being tested. It could be launched for more users as soon as next month.
And Starbucks is celebrating Red Season, and Taylor Swift may be part of the holiday fun. This week, the coffee giant sparked rumors of a Starbucks-Swift collaboration when it tweeted it's Red Season. Swift dropped her newest album, a re-recorded version of Red, this morning. Sources tell People magazine that Taylor's favorite drink will be available in stores today. Starbucks says that the tweet was just a reference to its red holiday cups. And with this weather coming in, I'm definitely going to have to go to Starbucks, maybe get a hot coffee for once.
Yeah, we're going to have to switch it from ice to hot, Rachel. How long are we sticking with that?
Yeah, unfortunately, it will be a lot colder. Looking at tonight, we're going to see some possible rain, snow chances moving throughout the weekend. We're also going to see another chance for that Sunday. Moving throughout next week, we're going to get a little bit warmer, but then drop temperatures again. So definitely be prepared this weekend with your winter coats possibly, and be aware on the roads for that winter weather mix.
All right, Rachel, thank you so much. That's all for Cardinal Weather this Friday morning. Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next Friday. Have a great rest of your Friday and a fantastic weekend.